you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who intervened in our affairs in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. Not just, did he come, he came to make black people in America into himself. He came to make us into a nation of gods. I know that when we go and walk, we go about our day in highways and the byways of America, and we look at our condition, we think, how could that be? How could the black man and woman, in America be worthy that God would come himself to raise us up from the gut, to raise us up from the lowest rungs of life, and then develop us stage by stage into a God? Do you know what God means? God means one who has force and power of his own being. God is one who determines a thing, and he says only to it be, and it is. And he said that he came to raise us up so that we can be like that. That we can have the force and power of our being to say be, and it is. That's a mighty God.
That's a mighty God.
To be able to take something that's nothing and make it into something. And that's a powerful thing. As we're taught that Allah is one, and that this one God places himself by the zero, which is us, and makes us into something once where we were nothing. But just to show you how powerful this God is, that he took the grandson of a slave. You understand? Do you understand what a slave is? A slave is a person that really has no power of their own being. They're being directed by someone else. They're being taken and moved about their life by someone else. A slave is somebody who, in this instance, when they were born into a system where they did not have the ability to even determine for themselves what they would do throughout their days. Think about that. And so he took the grandson of a slave from Georgia, a Georgia-born man, which, down in the deep South, slavery is a peculiar institution. And he took that grandson of a slave who barely could just, read. He went to the 4th grade, he completed 3rd grade and went to the 4th grade of education. Didn't really have a highfalutin college degree. He didn't have, a lot of job training other than being on, a farm. There's a lot of things that he didn't have for himself.
That's right.
Then he goes, this Georgia-born man, he goes and he moves up to Detroit without a lot of job training. And right now, many of us would have a problem moving to a city and we didn't already have a job laid out for us.
Come on now.
So he goes up there, and he's like many other black people, that fall on hard times in despair. I want you all to put this into perspective. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was living in Detroit, Hamtramck, Black Bottoms, Detroit, in an apartment that didn't even have a bathroom. He had to share a bathroom with other people who were living on that floor with him. Okay? Now just think about this. He had a family, a budding family, with no job in a big city. He fell on hard times. He started drinking, like many of us do, because we can't deal with the pain of living really as a slave and not even knowing it. And his wife one day came to him, and he was in a bad state. He was an alcoholic. And came to him and said, there's this man that I think that you should go listen to. And he did. And he went to this meeting and he listened to this man who was speaking about measuring the measurements of the earth. Now, this Georgia-born black man had grown up in the church, so he was very familiar with the prophecies of the Bible and the Bible. And so when he went and heard this man, he was like, I know who this man is. This man has got to be God. From the descriptions that I've heard, you know, my father and my grandfather talk about in the church, this man has got to be God. And when you're down on your luck, sometimes you'd be willing to bet on anything.
That's right.
And so this Georgia-born black man who was in Detroit, Michigan, went up after the meeting and shook the man's hand and said, I know who you are. And he said that you are God. And so this man put his hand on Elijah's shoulder and he said, who else knows this besides you? He said, no one. So he took that man just by recognizing. Now, did he recognize that the flesh was God? Or did he recognize that the spirit was God? Because within us, within the human being, God is Allah, the creator, the originator of the heavens and earth, has deposited within us his spirit. And so when you're in touch with that God spirit within yourself, God recognizes God. So when you come in contact with God, your soul will leap. And so Elijah's soul left that day. And he recognized God. So this one took him aside. The one who we believe appeared in the person of God, appeared in the person of a man, took Elijah aside. Now Elijah was a little small statured man, about 5'5", 5'6", about 145 pounds. You know, didn't have, fine speech, had somewhat broken speech. And he took them and he taught them for day and night for 3 years and 4 months. Taught them about the knowledge of God. Taught them about the knowledge of the hereafter and what was to come. And Elijah started growing little by little. He started depositing, this man started depositing within Elijah what he needed actually to build a nation, to be the first begotten of the dead, and actually be the one who was the cornerstone of a brand new civilization. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad with a 3rd grade education. So that's how this one who said that we believe is God does it. He takes you and he trains you and he teaches you into the knowledge of God, step by step by step, until you start realizing the divinity that's within yourself. We are all gods, children of the Most High God. We just have to understand it. That's why it's so important, an understanding that Allah appeared in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, because he lets us know that within us is the potential to become a God. And so he takes somebody who's nobody at all and makes him into a God. Elijah Muhammad, with his 3rd grade education, begins to start producing other gods. That's how you know he's a God. He produces a Malcolm X. He produces a Muhammad Ali. He produces a Naeem Makbar. He produces all these giants.
That's right.
And then he produces the Most Honorable, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is a giant among men. He is a God. And as we look at him, when we understand what God is, having the force and power of being, this man, I just want us to really, really, really think about this. He determines in his mind, with the help of Allah, that he's going to call 1 million men, black men, to Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Think about that. Just think about us. We're going to have a meeting today. We say we want 100 people to show up. We have to send out flyers, emails. We have to post on Instagram, Facebook, and we might get 10 from all of that. This man called for 1 million men to show up in Washington, D.C. on a Monday.
On a Monday now.
With their own dime.
Knowing we got to.
He didn't pay for them to come. We didn't have sponsorships from Coca-Cola, or Pepsi, or Budweiser, or any of these other institutions. These men went on their own dime, showed up. Nearly 2 million black men showed up on a work day, on a Monday.
That's right.
And then what happened is that Bill Clinton and the boys got out of Dodge.
Yes, ma'am.
Literally, think about how powerful this man is, that he could call for 1 million black men to show up, and he runs the president of the United States and all the Congress out of the city.
That's right.
If that ain't God, I don't know what you're looking for.
All black boys.
All praises. Now, I say all of that to say that Allah didn't just do that for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Allah didn't just do that for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Allah gave them to us as examples of the potential that each one of us has.
That's right. Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's how I want us to look at these people, as examples of what's lying in you, what's lying in you, and what's lying in me.
That's right.
And in their 3 great names, I like to greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
All praises be to Allah. Now the question is, how do we get to be like that?
Good question.
What does it take to be like these men?
Yes, ma'am.
What does it take to develop within us that we could grow stage by stage into someone who has the ability not only to call 1 million men, 2 million men to Washington, D.C., not only to make giants, but to become gods that have force and power?
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you really think about these people, I told you the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said he was taught for 3 years and 4 months, day in and day out, by this man.
That's right.
I want you to think about what it takes for you to submit yourself to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Submit yourself to that kind of training. It takes a sincere and it takes a sincere commitment.
That's right.
And I really want us to think about the commitment that will be necessary for us to do that. Now, all of us have these dreams about wanting to be great. There's not one person in here at one point in your life, if not now, want to be great.
That's right.
You have thoughts of yourself doing great things. You may see yourself speaking before, hundreds and thousands or even millions of people.
That's right.
You may see yourself owning a business and balling out of control, like you say. You may see yourself, just doing unbelievable things.
That's right.
But there's a way that you can actualize that. But it takes sincere commitment.
That's right.
I think that they said it's Malcolm Gladwell, who's this author, and he studied all these people that are very successful. And he found that there was something in common about all these people. And the commonality between all these people was a commitment. A commitment to become a master at whatever they decided that they were going to do. And so he broke it down into that it takes approximately 10,000 hours, if I'm correct, of studying one subject in order to become a master at that subject. Now we need to ask ourselves, especially those who have registered in the Nation of Islam, how much time do we take when we talk about studying the teachings? How much time, how much effort do we take in building ourselves as Muslims?
You can play. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you work day in and day out, it would take you maybe around 3 years and then 3.5 years if you work night and day to become a master at whatever it is that you're doing. So I want us to think about how much commitment that takes. If you're spending 8 hours, just say 8 hours a day to do that. That at the end of that period, if we spend 8 hours a day just thinking about it, focusing on the mission, what would happen at the end of 3 years, 3.5 years? Just think about it. Think about the people, and not just doing the mission, but self-improvement. Because self-improvement is the basis for community development. So we have to do the work, and we also have to improve self. You know, the originator, when he created himself, he went into himself and began to study himself and found that he, the originator, even needed improvement. So what makes us think that we don't need improvement, being born into a world of sin?
Right.
So we have to do the work, and we also have to improve ourselves. So it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes effort. So I want to read to you what is commitment. Commitment is an agreement or a pledge to do something in the future. Okay? To do something in the future. As such as an engagement. A commitment is the state of insurance. Let me put on my glasses because I can't see. It's the state or the instance of being obligated or emotionally impelled. Emotionally impelled means to urge or to drive forward, or on by, or as if by exertion or strong moral pressure of force. To commit, now that's a noun. To commit is a verb. It means to carry into action deliberately, to obligate, to bind. A contract committing the company to complete a project on time, to pledge or assign some particular course. Now, when we become Muslims, we're taught this prayer. And the prayer says, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah. Now, see, we pray this whenever we're making our prayer. But I want us to really think about this when we do it. My prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So we have to really consider this as Muslims, and even if you're in any religious tradition, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're a Jew or if you're Buddhist, all of them make that same type of commitment to their Lord.
That's right.
So we really need to think about that. Now I want to back that up just a little bit. My prayer. That means that when I'm praying, when I'm making supplication, I'm not just asking for frivolous things.
That's right.
I'm not just asking for, a car or a house. Literally, I am asking you. My prayer is to ask you to make me a better Muslim, to make me a better Christian, to make me a better Jew, so that way I can reflect perfectly the Spirit of God through me.
That's right.
My prayer, my sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something of value for something of greater value.
That's right. Make it
So
plain.
that means that we have to give up something. What are we giving up? Giving up some time, giving up some money, So we have to think about this. Our sacrifice. But we're not just giving it up for an even exchange.
No.
Our sacrifice is for a greater benefit at a future time.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want us to think about, what is it that we are sacrificing?
Good question.
And what is it that we hope to get?
Yes, ma'am.
And I would hope to think that many of us would think that what we get in return is much better than what we leave behind.
That's right.
That's a better life, a life of
Much
peace.
better.
Think about that.
Right.
Do we know what peace is?
No.
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 We haven't experienced peace.
No.
Not true peace. But Allah is asking us to give up, to sacrifice whatever we think that is peace. Having some money in the bank, that's nice.
Right.
That's real nice. To be honest with you, having nice things,
That's
I
right.
like nice things.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But they said if you were about to die, the Quran, and I'm not quoting it properly, but you would ransom all that you had
Right.
if you could just stay here.
That's right.
So think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. So what we think that we are acquiring of material wealth,
Mm-hmm.
of friendships and all these things, which are nice, but there's a greater something. It's called peace.
That's right.
I will give it all up for a moment of peace
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
in a New York setting.
Mm-hmm.
So my prayer, my sacrifice, my life doesn't mean that you have to run out in the middle of the street, kill yourself to say in the name of Allah. No. It means what you think that your life is about,
Mhm.
that you have to be willing to give up.
That's right.
You know, and that's what is life. Life is your time.
Right.
And many of us are not willing to give up our time. So we need to think about that. Maybe we got off track somewhere. When we start thinking about, you know, well, like Brother Derek was saying, if I watch the football game on Monday night or whenever they come on, I don't know. It seems like they're on all the time nowadays. So if you sacrifice your time to, you know, in the case of with the FOI, come to FOI class on a Monday night. Sacrifice watching a football game.
Right.
Somewhere in our minds we got off track the value of what it is that Allah has set up for us.
That's right.
Good teaching.
So we forgot somewhere.
Mhm.
So we have to go back and begin to start remembering what is it. If we believe that Allah appeared in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad and that he actually set this structure up, and we negate it because we think that there's no benefit, even if we don't think about it consciously, in our mind, we're actually negating the reality of God.
That's right.
So I want us to really, really, really think about this as we are allocating our time throughout our week.
Okay.
There's
Right.
something you may not see now,
Mhm.
but there's something that you're gaining a benefit when you give up your time.
That's right.
Okay? So, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah. So if one of us should die today or tomorrow, or if I should drop dead right now, and this is my brother, Brother Wahid, who was the first one to stand up to follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when he decided to rebuild the work of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He told me the story last week. He said that he got a call from someone back in 1979. He says, "Brother, I have something I have to tell you." He said, "You know, are you ready for this?" And he said, "Okay, brother, go ahead and tell me." He said, "Your daughter has just died." And he said, "All praise is due to Allah." That was Brother Wahid's response to that. And he said, "Brother, you must not have heard what I said." He said, "Your daughter has transitioned." He said, "All praise is due to Allah." She was a 21-year-old child.
Mhm.
But he understood that our death is all for Allah.
That's right.
She came here to do what she came to do, and when Allah got ready for her to return back to Him,
Right.
then we say all praise is due
Praise
to Allah.
That's
Allahu
right.
Akbar.
I think last week we went to a janazah. Janazahs are very short.
Mhm.
Ain't long.
They could be like 15 minutes.
That's right.
Because we're not going to sit around and grieve and mourn, because Allah gives life. He's the giver of life, and He's the one who takes life.
That's right.
So while we're here, we do our work. While we're here, we love the people that we should be loving.
That's
Because
right.
when we're gone, I mean, all you can do is just cherish your memory. So with that being said, I want to return us back to the first day for the Muslims who registered in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
The first day that you stood up and you said, "I'm going to follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I want to join the Nation of Islam." We said, and we made a commitment. We made a commitment by reciting the Believer's Pledge in front of the believers.
Right.
And it says, "I," state your name, "pledge to strive to love my brothers and sisters as I love myself." It's a good thing. I, state your name. Pledge. And that one doesn't even require a lot of time. I just want to say that. To love your brothers and sisters as you love yourself. So you have to ask, how much do you love yourself? I, state your name, strive, pledge to strive. Didn't even say you pledge to strive, to study, to improve yourself spiritually, mentally, morally, physically, economically for the benefit of myself first, my family and my people.
Right.
I, state your name, pledge to strive to build schools. And why do we need to build schools? As Malcolm X said, if the enemy isn't going to treat you right, he's not going to teach you right.
That's right.
And the one thing that I didn't say in the beginning is that when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said he was the grandson of slaves, in reality, we still are slaves.
That's right.
So the enemy, the reason why we're in the condition today, because we still have the mind of the enemy. He's still controlling us, even though he doesn't have a whip over us. So we have to build our own schools.
That's right.
We have to build our own hospitals. Do you know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
the enemy is actually killing us in the hospitals, and we think that we're going there for him to heal us?
That's right.
Do you know that he wants to kill black men, women, and children?
That's right.
Every day. He's thinking of new ways in a scientific way to kill us
That's right.
that we don't even know.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, literally, we think that we're having a good time and he's killing us
Mm-hmm.
through our appetites.
Right.
Okay?
That's right.
So we strive to build our own hospitals. We strive to build housing. Now, you're asking the enemy, you're an open enemy, to build homes for you. Businesses. Why can't you and I open up our own businesses? To buy farmland. Do you know that Monsanto, you all have heard of Monsanto?
Yes, ma'am.
They made Roundup.
Mhm.
These people literally, I don't even know how many millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits that they have against them. This is the stuff that they're putting on your food that you eat.
That's right.
That's causing cancer. I just saw a commercial last night that said that if you have cancer due to Roundup, do you know Roundup is the same thing that they used in Vietnam called Agent Orange.
Right.
That's right.
That caused people to have cancer. That's stuff they're putting in our food.
Mm-hmm.
And we just go on off to Walmart and just go buy the food, just be happy, killing us. Don't even understand
That's right.
that this man is killing us.
Yep.
Now I want us to think about the commitment that we need to have to ourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why it says I strive, and then it says for myself first.
That's right.
If you don't like your brother or your sister, at least think about yourself.
That's right.
Everything that you do here is for self.
Mm-hmm.
It benefits other people, but it starts with yourself.
That's right.
How many of us have lost our children to the world?
That's right.
How many of us have had people that go into the hospital, to be treated and then come out worse?
Right.
Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're being, the enemy is getting over on us every day through business.
Mm-hmm.
They just arbitrarily just change the prices, just to get profit.
That's right.
It's all about profit.
It's all about profit.
So I just want us to think about this.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to be doing business for ourselves so that we can give ourselves a fair price.
Right.
Every other respecting person does something for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was supposed to just be a few minutes, but I'm passionate.
Go ahead, teach.
Praise be to Allah.
Teach, sister. Teach. Make it
Oh,
plain.
praise
Make it plain. Break it down.
Now, enter into international trade and commerce. Okay? So we need to be where we can we don't need the middleman.
No.
We don't need the Caucasian to run interference
That's right.
for us.
That's
Sister
right.
Sandy, our national student captain, what she did when the enemy didn't want to sell her sewing machines, you know what she did? She got on a plane and she went to China, because the Chinese can make anything. And she made a deal with the Chinese to provide for us sewing machines.
All praise be to
With
God.
our own MGT and GCC on these sewing machines. Y'all can go upstairs and take a look at them if you want to see them.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
We have our own scissors with MGT and GCC on. This is how we have to do it.
Now that's
Self-respecting people will do something for themselves.
That's right.
But do you think that's going to happen by us just doing it part-time, after 12, whenever we could spare a little extra time?
No.
No. It's going to take us being committed to this thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Us keeping our pledge
That's right.
that we made to the believers, to the God, and most importantly, to yourself.
That's right.
And lastly, it says that I strive to pledge, state your name, pledge to strive to study, to give myself my time and my energy and whatever I can spare of my finances to accomplish the above said. Now, I just want us to understand that this commitment, it takes work.
That's right.
It's not an overnight thing.
No.
It may not even be done in a generation, but if we commit today, if we sacrifice today, the tomorrow that our children can inherit will be something that we could not even imagine.
That's right.
Just think about it. Just think about being free. Being free is, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, that it's a curious thing to a slave. Do you understand what it means to be free? If you got up in the morning time and you didn't have to go to somebody else's job on their time.
That's right.
Do you understand
Beautiful.
freedom?
Yep.
Do you understand that you can determine within yourself that you want something to happen and you go after getting it done?
That's right.
Right.
Just imagine that. I'm just talking about working. But imagine being a free thinker. Imagine being able to think outside the box of your open-ended.
Right.
Freedom is worth fighting for.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
worth dying for.
That's right.
It's worth giving all your time
Come on
for.
now.
It's worth giving whatever you can spare of your finances for.
That's right.
But it's going to take a commitment. And so I'm asking each one of us today, think. Go back to when you first heard this message and how your soul leapt because you recognized God.
Right.
Don't kill the messenger of Allah. Don't kill him within us.
Right.
Let's go back to our first love. And I thank you all, and I love you all so much, and I look forward, all praises to
Thank you a lot.
everything that Allah has promised us. He's promised us luxury, money,
Right.
good homes, and friendships in our walk of life.
That's right.
On the condition that we submit
That's right.
and commit our lives. So why not have a big name? Why not us get what it is that we deserve? You're God's
Right.
children of the Most High God.
Right.
May Allah bless you all as I bring our student captain to you. He's going to take you through the rest of this lecture today. And I thank you all very much for your time. And may Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Are you listening? Damn.